I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Julpy and Ghosty. Actually, really, it's not. It's Culpy and a solo cup. Here's another one.
Okay. So, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. We covered the Democratic debate yesterday between Bernie and Biden. So, well, I don't know if by the time you're watching this, if that will be a yesterday. Shoot, by the time you're watching this, Bernie might already be out of the election. Good Lord. All right. So we've got Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Into My Arms.
For Asmir? Is that how
For the big homie Asmir. There are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. One is the classic comment section, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc.
We have been pulling more from the comment section, so.
But there's 140K of you. So one of the ways that we did to kind of make it manageable so that we could have a shot at getting some songs reviewed was the Patreon Alliance system. $1 at the gate, get you in. An Alliance leader will contact you immediately. And then they will basically try to recruit you and get you on their team. And then you guys, they're basically genre specific. So then you can kind of make your case to your group and then off you go. Another way to do it is to skip right ahead of the line. $125 tier gets you a song reviewed immediately. You can do that on Patreon, or you can go to, PayPal, vinandsorimerch@gmail.com. If you were part of the $75 tier and you did it 3 times, you get grandfathered in forever at the $75 rate.
And all these links he's talking about, they're in the description of the video.
Which Asmir qualifies for that, I'm sure. Obviously. So Asmir, you're at the $75 tier. Congratulations to you. This is Nick Cave and the Bad. I like this band. I'm trying to find a way to get backstage and get some interviews lined up to cover that show because they're coming to Boston. There's a couple bands that publicists have said, well, send us an email, we'll see what we can do. So nice, I need to get up on that. Okay, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Into My Arms, let's do it.
Okay, ready? Go.
I'm Nick Cave, and we're going to play a few songs from my new record. I hope you like them. The Bad Seeds will be playing with me, and here I am, and we're going to do that, yeah. Thanks.
What a terrible thing.
I don't believe in an interventionist God. But I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him to intervene when it came to you. Well, not to touch a hair in your head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you into my arms, into my arms. Oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. And I don't believe in the existence of angels. Looking at you, I wonder if that's true. and clear your path, and to walk like Christ in grace and love and guide you into my arms, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. But I believe in love, and I know that you do too. And I believe in some kind of path, though we can walk down, me and you. Well, keep those candles burning, make your journey bright and pure, that you'll keep returning always and evermore. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, this is my desire.
That is not at all what I thought that song was going to be about.
Yeah, he must have some sort of Christian background somewhere, because a lot of his songs, there was Cain and Abel, there was a couple of them where it's like, whoa, you got to kind of have a Christian background to get a lot of the songs that he was saying, although you don't really need a Christian background for this one, because this one was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it seems to me like he's with somebody that, I feel like the girl is like a Bible person, or a, you know what I mean, like somebody that kind of goes to church some here or there.
Yeah.
She has some influence of religion.
Christian. Yeah.
I don't know if she's I don't know what whatever, but.
Well, I mean, he mentions Christ, so I'm assuming she's a Christian. You know.
When it showed that picture of her in that dress.
Yeah.
With the butterflies on it, I wish that I lived in the era where they wore those dresses.
You always say that. Why don't you just
Because
wear
I can't
the
wear
dress
that
yourself?
now. It's just so weird. I'm not gonna go bustling around the house in that dress. It's just weird.
Because other people aren't wearing it?
Yeah, it's just awkward. And then I wouldn't be able to enjoy it because it'd be so weird. But yeah, like when we used to watch.
So if a bunch of people wore it, then you would be able to wear it?
Oh, absolutely. I would do it and then I would be happy about it. But it's already, okay, I'll tell you
I don't
why.
understand that.
Because if I was by myself, then yes, I could wear the dress and I could enjoy it. But like, if I wore that dress, like everybody would be looking at me like I was so weird, it would take away some of the fun of it. It was like on Christmas when I came out in that elf thing, that little elf dress. And like everybody was looking at me like I was all weird, and I couldn't handle that. It was too much. So I changed.
Okay.
I like it. You know what I like about it is I felt like there was like a big difference between men and women's clothing, and I feel like that there's a big difference between masculinity and femininity. Like, so I like to see that displayed in the clothing.
Right.
So that's why I like it. What? And you can't. Where do you buy dresses like that anyway?
I'm sure you could find it online. I'm just looking here. You've got 2 packages
Don't
coming your
announce
way
it.
on Amazon there.
Yeah.
What is it? More baby wipes?
No.
Spent $31 on baby wipes.
No.
Yeah. No, but that's so weird to me that you wouldn't just. If there's something I saw, I don't care who's wearing it. I just get it.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
so weird.
But like, so you would if there was an outfit that you put on and I really didn't like it, you'd just keep wearing it if you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm not like that, unfortunately.
So he doesn't believe in an interventionist God. That's very interesting because he's not saying he doesn't believe in God, period. He's basically saying he's a deist.
Yeah.
You know, God's up there and he kind of spun out the universe, but he doesn't really intervene in the affairs of men. Mm-hmm. Which is it's a very interesting. I think was it Jefferson? I think Jefferson was a deist, where basically like, you know, we're on our own. There's got to be a God out there somewhere, probably, most likely. But I mean, he doesn't really intervene. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do. This is very. I don't.
That's a bold thing for him to go on and say.
What? What is?
But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you.
Not to touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my heart.
I was just like, wow, okay. That's just something pretty bold to say. Because, like, coming from my standpoint, it's God that created her. And
right.
So, like...
He's got ultimate rights over her.
Yeah, but how could you say that?
But he's being respectful. I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you.
Uh-huh.
That's an interesting line. Why would you want him to intervene? Is it because are you afraid that if God were to intervene that she would leave you?
Oh, yeah. But he said not to touch a hair on her head.
Yeah. Well, I think he's afraid that, you know, this girl's religion is going to ruin their chances of being together. You know, which is an interesting thing.
But then no, he says leave you as you are.
Yeah, not to touch you as and leave you as you are, right? Because he doesn't.
Because right now she's with him.
Right. Which technically, you know, they shouldn't really be in a serious relationship together.
Nope,
From a
that's
biblical
true.
perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that's a very controversial perspective to hold. But I think that it depends on how you're looking at it. Like, if you look at religion as kind of like an add-on to your life, like you have your quote real life and then you have like religion as sort of like a side hobby type of thing, like, and if that's how you run your Christianity, then yeah, I mean, of course, then it would be a controversial thing to say.
Yeah.
But if the person of Jesus is at the center of your life and that your entire life is you view the world through that lens, and then everything else is sort of ancillary to the center of Jesus, then it makes complete and perfect sense, because that's going to create so many conflicts in the relationship.
Oh my word. Yeah.
Then when you add kids into the mix, forget about it. It becomes this very, and you know, and the Bible doesn't say, hey, if you're in a spiritual mismatch, make the person's life a living hell. It actually says the opposite. It says, hey, you know, live a nice life and follow Christ to be an example to your husband and your wife, and then based on that, who knows what they're gonna do. So if you're in a spiritual mismatch, you're not supposed to like bash them over the head with the Bible. At the same time, there's a whole segment of your life that the other person cannot relate to.
Right.
And there are child rearing decisions and decisions on, you know, morality that you tell your kids and all the rest of it that will create such conflict that it'll be sometimes insurmountable. And so, you know, that's what I tell the kids, the boys, you know, doing man study. Like, look, man, I'm not going to disown you or anything like that. But if you take Jesus seriously at all, it's going to create a lot of conflict that you could do without.
Well, and see, like, I used to think, oh my word, it sounds so like you think that you're better than everybody if you say, no, I'm not gonna marry somebody that's in a different religion than me or that's outside of my religion.
Yeah.
But it's not really like, yes, that's kind of what you're saying, but like, if you, from the time that you were born, you knew that you were gonna, like, your entire life's mission was to build this ginormous temple, and then you marry somebody, you don't want to marry somebody that wants to travel the world because you're stuck in one location building this temple. You want to, if you want to meet somebody that's like, I also had this dream of building a temple. So then you build the temple together. So it's one of those things where it's like finding somebody that's, you know, the same or similar to you, so that way you guys can do what you do together, and you know, why should you have to have the fights? And here you go, traveling around the world again, and I'm trying to, you know, like, you can work together, and it obviously makes for a much better relationship.
Yeah, especially if you look at marriage as not just, you know, warm fuzzies all the time, but marriage is also ultimately a partnership. And every, you know, if you look at it from the perspective of a business or any sort of organization, whether it be a military or whatever, there's got to be an ultimate common goal. So if you're in the military, there's an ultimate common goal. You know, protect protect citizens of this country against enemies, foreign and domestic, with extreme prejudice. You know, so every business or every organization has an ultimate goal, and so if you look at marriage from that perspective, or you look at relationships from that perspective, like there should be an ultimate goal in the partnership of what marriage is and what you're building. And I think that's a lot of people miss that about relationships. People talk about our relationship a lot, but we've got common goals. There's a common goal for the channel. There's a common goal in child rearing. There's a common goal. All of that is subsumed into Christ. But again, if you're looking at, you know, religion as just some sort of add-on to your life, then I completely understand the bewilderment. Like, come on, it's just you know, if it's 5% of your life, then sure. But if and the other side of that is, let's say that the Christian story is true. I mean, we obviously believe it. Let's say the Christian story is true, and that God went all this way from heaven to earth to die a horrible death for your sins. If that really happened and there's really a person named Jesus who did that, then he's got the right to say, you should pledge absolute loyalty to me.
Yeah.
Just on virtue of the fact that, a lot of people are going to be upset at this, and I completely understand, especially if you're outside of it. But on virtue of the fact that he's creator, he could demand that. But he went above and beyond in ways that no conceived God we haven't even dared to conceive of a person that would do such a thing. So I understand from that perspective, but on the other perspective, if all that stuff really happened and Jesus really did that, then of course he has a right to demand that of us. Like, you know, like every relationship has terms and terminologies, and on, you know, many times many relationships are very exclusive. If you marry somebody, what you're saying is there's 8 billion people in the world, 4 billion of them are female, and every single one of those females is off limits to me because I'm with you. Okay, well, is that a divisive, horrible thing to do? Well, no. I mean, you know, you're the most important human being in my life. So if I am, and the relationship between Christ and the church is compared to a marriage, and so there's just a lot of levels where it's like, if you take Jesus seriously and Christianity seriously and the project of building the kingdom of God seriously, if you take all that seriously, and you know, you're told, seek first the kingdom of God, then on that level, how can you know, enter into an ultimate partnership with you're seeking first God's kingdom and the other person either doesn't believe that there's a kingdom of God or whatever? Right. Doesn't mean that there's some horrible person you're better than them. It just means that you're always going to have, and the big thing about surviving marriage is to minimize as many conflicts as you possibly can. Because you know, you put two selfish people together, you're going to have a bunch of conflicts. So you got to minimize as much as possible the conflicts that you can have. And I just think a person who is, again, there are different degrees of, like, I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, Vin's a cool guy, da da da. But if we were not Christians, like if somebody's not a Christian, the way that I live my life and the decisions that I make and the choices I make would be completely infuriating to a person if they were not a Christian.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, well, and so it would create so many conflicts that I don't think relations would be able to get over it. And a lot of people don't understand that because they look at religion as sort of like, you know, like a condiment to the main course or something like that, you know. But, you know, I always say to people, there's a reason Jesus got crucified. Like, there's a reason for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason he got crucified. And it's not because, you know, he talked about, like, and he knew it. You know, he said things like, I'm going to create divisions within families. Like, He talked, you know, don't
did.
think I came to bring his sword and mother-in-law against her daughter and yada 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 yada. But what he's saying is, it looks like the relationship is kind of going okay. It looks like he's saying he doesn't want God to kind of intervene in their relationship and screw it up, and then, you know, he wants her directed into his arms or whatever. Yeah.
Or maybe you're right, though. Maybe he recognizes that there's a gap between them because of her belief system, and so he's afraid that all of a sudden, like, maybe he sees that there's some hesitancy on her part.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I don't want this to go any further. Like, I don't want God to tell her to, you know.
And I've seen that, especially like with new Christians, you know, if somebody's got a boyfriend or on the way. And I'm thinking about one particular person, like, I never told her to break up with her boyfriend. But I just knew that based on where she was going and how seriously she began to take her Christianity, I knew that there was no way that they were gonna, you know, and she, you know, we never talked about it. And she'd talk about conflicts or whatever, and I'd say, yeah, you know, and I never touched it, you know. And on the other side, there's a lot of Christians like, you should have said something, and blah, 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 but I feel like a lot of that stuff works itself out naturally, but...
I think you're right. I think it does work itself out naturally, and I think that if you tell somebody you need to break up with that person, and they do it, like, the heart wants what the heart wants. And I think that you have to get to a certain point for yourself. And you have to make that decision for yourself. Because if somebody makes that decision for you, you won't be able to stand by that decision.
Yeah, especially if you're an influential person. Like, if you've got a lot of influence over people and you tell them, hey, the Bible says this, yada, yada, yada. They might do it, but they wouldn't do it because the Bible said so or God's telling them. They do it because you said so.
Yeah.
So anytime you're like a person of influence with somebody spiritually, like, you always have to figure out what to say and what not to say. How to use your influence, how not to use. I just knew that, because the thing is, you pray and a prayer gets answered, and you're like completely, especially when you're new, you just got baptized, prayer got answered, you're so excited. The number one thing you want to do is share with the person, you know, who, you know, is the most important person to you. So your prayer gets answered, the guy goes, yeah, I mean, anything, and, you know, he comes up with some reason why it's a coincidence and not really miraculous or whatever, and she finds something in the scripture that pops out to her that she read a million times. Now she's converted and she sees the spirit behind it, so she's mega excited. She goes to the guy, and the guy's like, okay, let's watch TV. You know, she kept running into those situations. And he was, I mean, he was a good guy. He was a decent guy. You know, he was a decent guy. It's just that there's this whole part of her that's now at the center of her life that he's, you know, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why she doesn't want to have sex anymore until they're married and yada, yada, yada. And so she just came up to me. She's like, Vin, I cannot imagine continuously having this discussion. Then she's like, well, what if we have kids? If we have kids, it's going to be even worse. Da, 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 da. And I was like, well, you know, what's God tell? I just kept it very neutral because I just knew. Yeah. It happens all the time in those situations. Like, you know, something is going to happen. Either you're going to compromise your faith so that the other person can find you palatable, or the thing's going to, you know, Yeah. So she broke up with him and moved out and, you know, lived on her own for a while, and then she got married and she's got a couple kids and she's with a Christian dude and they're building. That's good. It's Jay. She's pregnant right now. So, Jay, she's pregnant right now. I said she was pregnant in December.
I don't remember. Now I'm on the spot.
I used to work with her, blonde.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, you know, she was a Christian, and then she started like, really, really centering Jesus in her life, and the minute you do that, there's just, you know. So I think he's kind of like,
good for her. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it
dodged a bullet there.
Well,
you did. You can't say, once you've been married and you've been in a relationship and you realize all the conflicts that come up in a relationship, to add that conflict in there is just...
Well, her big thing wasn't necessarily the conflict. Her big thing was she was so excited about this relationship with Christ, and she would find something, or she would read something, and you know, and she would have a great time in prayer or worship, and unless you've been inside of that, you can't understand it.
Yeah.
So you just, every day is like Christmas, and she's wanting to share this beautiful thing that's happening to her in her life, and there's nothing, or there's sarcasm, or there's an eye roll, or there's a whatever, and there's a, how do you know that's, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just hurtful to her,
yeah.
you know, and the closer and closer she got to Christ, the farther and farther away that gap, you know, became.
Well, there's nothing
tough,
that he can
tough
say.
situation.
There's nothing he can say that's going to be satisfying in that situation. When you have something you're excited about, there's nothing that he can say, because even if he's like, wow, that's cool, like she knows in the back of her head, he doesn't believe this. So he's not excited with me. He's not, you know, it's just...
And then you see other Christian couples. It's and simple things that you take for granted, like you were sick one time in the gym and I prayed for you right there in the gym. Things like the things that you know, and then you see other Christian couples have that and you don't have that. It's painful. You know, and that's a big thing. I'd say I'd rather people not experience that type of pain, because it's and again, unless you're inside of it, you don't really know what it's like. But it's tough stuff. But at the same time, this guy genuinely loves this girl.
I think that within the metal community, we probably, if you're not somebody who can understand what we're talking about, if you think about, like, when you find a metal song that you're like, this is out of this world, this is unbelievable, I love this, and then you share it with somebody and they're not like, meh, you know, it's like, what? It's kind of like disappointing, especially like the more that separation happens. Like, we hear people saying it all the time, like, because they're into metal, like, they can't relate musically with the people around them and stuff, and so it's kind of like that mismatch, but on like a bigger level. So finding the village and being able to hang out with other people that love your type of music has been really a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. And people feel like, oh, okay, finally somebody that gets me and someone I can share my music with and stuff. So it's like that when you get into a relationship that have the same belief system.
And the thing about the music is that every metalhead knows it's more than the music. Right? Like, there's something like really deep beneath the surface where the music, and there are various communities that are like this. Like, you know, if you look at like the special forces community and things like that, like a lot of the women say, I could never be with somebody. You know, there was a widow and her husband was a SEAL, and she said, I could never be with somebody who wasn't a SEAL, just because the certain type of culture and things of that nature, like, and the way that the guy is, and the way that she's used to being with a man and all that. Like, she's like, I could never go from. Unfortunately he died, and she's like, I could never go and be with a, I'm not going to use the term that they use, but I was like, yeah, I
tell me offline.
It's like, yeah, I understand. Well, it was a way of speaking of the female anatomy. It's basically anybody who wasn't a SEAL was that, which I found very funny, but so there's just a lot of situations like that. But it's obvious that he genuinely loves this girl, and he kind of has a relationship with God himself. But it's kind of like, if you stay out of my business, I'll stay out of yours type of relationship. But he's saying, but if you do get in my business, then make sure that she comes closer to me. And he, you know, this girl's like an angel to him. I don't believe in angels, but if I did, I'd summon them together to ask them to watch over you, to each burn a candle for you and make a bright and clear your path to walk like Christ in grace and love and guide you into my arms. I mean, it's a sweet, sweet song from a dude who has a mismatch. And I think what he's saying is, look, both of us believe in love, right? So love will be able to hold us together even if we don't share the same belief system. Love should be able to hold us together, and I agree with that. I agree with that. But, you know, again, that's not the issue per se in this situation. It's not that, you know, she didn't love her boyfriend and that's why she left him. It's not that. It's that was one of the reasons she did, was she loved him so much, and the idea of spending the rest of her life and having a whole portion of her life be cut off from this guy was too much for her to bear. But at the same time, I do think, like, there's right reasons and wrong reasons to do everything, right? So, like, if you're saying, well, I'm a Christian now, my boyfriend's a nasty pagan, screw that guy, I think that's the wrong attitude, right? And if I heard somebody say that, I'd say, well, he was what he was before you started getting serious about God. Now you're going to call this guy a nasty pagan. He's been good to you, and we don't need to demonize the guy because he's not following our. So like verse 3, I think would be very, very important. I believe in love. I know you do too. And I believe in some kind of path that we can walk down, me and you, so keep the candles burning, yada, yada, yada. So I think the conclusion that he's coming to is to say, hey, I don't believe in the interventionist God stuff. There might be a deity out there, and don't really believe in angels, but you're an angel. And hey, can't we just, can't we just love each other? And that's good enough for both of us. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I just think that there is. I think he's speaking as honestly as he possibly can from his perspective.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it's extremely genuine, and that there's no way for him to understand what she's going through. If what we're assuming about the song is there. But that's a really, really, really difficult topic. Because. I see it completely from both sides. I see it as the insider Christian person I know the pain that those people feel. Like I see it and I feel so horrible for them. And I've never, unless it's like an abusive situation or something, obviously, but I've never like advised a Christian dude or girl to do that, because I just know. Because the context we were around, people were taking their Christianity very seriously. Yeah. It was very, very serious. Like people. It was
so serious that even two Christians that were together would get frustrated at one of them because it was like they were taking it. It's like, oh my word, can't we be home? Like, why do we always have to be helping the homeless or whatever?
Yeah. And but when you're in that kind of context, a lot of stuff happens. A lot of really cool spiritual stuff happens. You see stuff.
Anytime you didn't go to one event, you missed some amazing thing that was like that most people never see in their entire lives. So I
used to tell them all the time. I used to say, don't take this for granted. People have been walking with God for decades and haven't seen what you guys have seen in the last couple of weeks.
Honestly, my heart was, pretty much always I wanted to be there. There was sometimes I didn't, but there was some times where I went just because I was like, I don't want to miss that. There's something crazy's gonna happen. I want to see it.
Right. Yeah. Something ridiculously insane with that, and I don't talk about it a lot because it's just unbelievable stuff.
I know.
Just
I know.
Ridiculously like what?
Yeah.
Okay. But like, and we used to say like people that were like like they were born into that, like that's all they knew of Christianity. That's all they knew.
I feel bad for them.
And then I used to say like I feel bad for you guys because like this is not how it is outside of our whatever this thing is.
So now they have to acclimate to other environments, and it's like. Are you serious?
Right.
Well, if you're not a Bible person, open up the Bible and read through the book of Acts and like see how the things were going in the book of Acts and like stuff like that. Crazy stuff was happening around us like that, and it would be like when you read it, you'll be like, well, I don't think that churches are actually doing this stuff anymore. Yeah,
and we ended up in the media, and
there was always something.
We were always in the media and got into it with feds and blah blah. It was just like really amazing amazing stuff. So you experience all this stuff and you want to go home and say, yo, blah 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 blah, and the boyfriend's like, I just saw you guys in the news, like what are you doing?
Why are you putting yourself in that situation?
Like you could get really hurt.
I remember one time we decided that we were gonna walk and pray in the park, and the park could be a semi-dangerous place. Sometimes there's weapons out in there. People died in there. And we were going to go at night and pray and stuff. And there was so many people that were like, don't bring your families in there. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
But.
Yeah. It's tough stuff.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the best sort of presentation of a person on the other side. Like, he's not hostile. He's not, but he's not compromising who he is as a person either, because a compromise works both ways. Sometimes a person compromises their faith to kind of accommodate but the other times the other person is so afraid to lose the other person, they'll start pretending, they'll start going to church and da. I mean, our place wasn't a place where you could do that because it was just way too intense to just casually, But like. sometimes they'll compromise who they are and they'll start saying anything under the sun to keep the person, and he's keeping it very, very honest. And you have got to appreciate that.
Honestly, if you're the, I don't even think it's a good environment for, let's say somebody's not a Christian and they're dating somebody who is. Like, I think it's good for them even to get out of that situation, because if I wasn't a Christian and I was in a relationship with you and you were, like, I wouldn't even want that. Like, why would I want to be in a relationship with somebody who's always doing stupid stuff? You know what I mean? Like, how annoying would that be? Like, I don't think it's good for either party.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I just don't see how the relationship can be healthy if,
Well, yeah, and again, I think it just depends on how seriously the person's taking their Christianity.
Well,
Christianity is like,
if you're just
I go to church once a week, and yada yada yada, and it's just kind of like the dessert to my full course meal. Then I don't think there's a problem at all. He just sleeps in on Sundays and then watches football on Sundays. But if you really take the thing seriously and you're willing to live and die for this man, Jesus, then he doesn't leave a lot of room. And I think that's one of the that conversation I had with Aaron Ra, where he said he doesn't like Jesus, and I said I respected him a lot. I mean, obviously I disagreed with him, but I respected him a lot, because there's a lot of people that say that they like Jesus but don't really understand the implications of what Jesus was saying. And this is one of the conflicts he talked about. Like, I'm gonna create conflicts because he's so demanding as to loyalty. And so I appreciate what Aaron Ra said. Now, obviously, Aaron Ra believes that Jesus was just a regular dude or didn't exist at all or whatever, who would have no right to demand that type of thing from a person, right? So, but yeah, I really like the song. 9.4 from me, actually.
Okay, so I liked what it was doing. It was actually slow for me. It was slow,
sounded kind of, the chorus sounded kind of like, the reason it got a 9 for me was because of the irony of the chorus, because the chorus sounded like some of the worship songs my mom used to listen to back in the day.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool, because it was like...
Our moms listened to similar things, but I didn't think that
very interesting contrast.
Okay.
And I knew melodically where it was going to go and all the rest of it. Like, I knew it. I was, it
was sweet for me. I liked the sweetness of it, but I think that it was a little bit slow. His little interview thing at the front was so awkward. It was so cute. It made me laugh. He's like in the band. It's gonna be or something like that. I think I'm gonna go with a 9. A 9. Yeah, because it was still a good song, and I actually liked what he was saying, and I liked the concept. I think that I don't think that you should tell God to basically do that, but I do think that it was sweet that the song was about.
Well, the irony is, like, he's saying, I'm not a believer, but the song itself was a prayer,
right?
Which I'm always a fan of that. Like, I'm always a fan of a person saying, like, hey, I don't really believe in this stuff, but so good for them. Good for them.
So yeah, 9 for me. What did you give it?
9.4. There you go, Nick Cave. I'm very, very interested to see the comment section. People are going to be really, really upset.
Yeah.
Or they're going to say, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, true.
True. All right,
Esmir. Thank you for the song.
It's a very good song. Yep. Nick Cave is my man.
So how you feel about your wife?
That's actually a good question. Email us. We'd like to know.
Yeah, give us the details.
I actually seriously would like to know if that's if you're in that type of situation, send me an email. I'd like to actually, because I never
feels that way.
Yeah, like if your boyfriend or girlfriend has ever left you due to their religion, do me a favor and email me, vinandsori@gmail.com, because I'm always on the other side of it, where the person goes, usually I can tell the signs. They start getting sad. They'll talk about some great spiritual experience they had, and they'll say, my boyfriend X, Y, and Z, and he just, whatever. And I'd be like, well, it's hard for him to relate, and I wouldn't say anything, but I always knew what was about to happen. Like, it's like clockwork. So I've always been on the other side and like walking them through that and all the rest of it. But I've never been on the boyfriend or the girlfriend who's getting left. You know, and at the end of the day, it's really leaving one person for another. You know, it's you know, you and Jesus were on the scale, and I chose Jesus over you. And
yes, but if you're somebody who doesn't even believe in Jesus or the existence of him, it's like you just left me for some figment of your imagination.
For a set of propositions, really.
Yeah, that's
is what it comes down to. In their mind,
frustrating.
I get it. But sometimes also, another thing that happens
Sometimes
is
with her, she's crazy.
another thing that happens is the other person goes, man, you're taking this stuff too far, and I'm out.
Yep.
You know, I love you, but this thing is starting to completely subsume your life, and you know, I'm fine with a little bit of, you know, salt and pepper on your chicken, but you're making the whole thing the chicken, and I'm out.
Yep.
Can't do it.
Right.
So that happens too, and I don't think that person's bad either, because people, you know.
I said I don't think that's healthy for that person to be in that situation.
If I thought, you know, if you started this, like, if you adopted this like Star Wars religion where, you know, you started believing that like Darth Vader was real and all the rest of it, and you bought these books about Darth Vader, and you go to these Darth Vader meetings every week or whatever, and everything started becoming about Darth Vader,
including your sexuality, because you got to think like they stop. Like, it's just too much, man.
Yeah, like and Darth Vader starts like subsuming all of your life. Like,
no.
I wouldn't divorce you, but like if we were dating, I'd be like, yo, like. I'd be like,
especially Star. I'm not a Star Wars fan. Hate me. I know.
This isn't gonna work.
I feel like the Metal Channel would be big into Star Wars.
Yeah,
I
like
am not.
You bought me a lightsaber. Like there was a lightsaber at the door, and you were like, "Hey, you know, I know that you don't believe in Darth Vader yet, but you know, try to swing around this thing and make some noises with it." Like I would be like. So I understand why they leave too, and I don't think they're bad people for that either. I really don't.
Yeah. I get it. I agree.
It's a
wholeheartedly.
So anyway, send me an email, vinandsori@gmail.com. Maybe we'll have a conversation with some people about it. You know, I just want to hear what it's like on the other side, because I never hear, you know, obviously I never hear from the broken up boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. I mean, I see stuff on Facebook. And my crazy ex, blah blah blah. It's really funny. One of them like completely turned against them and like really went full on persecution mode at them on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah. Which of course, you know, she was looking at it very spiritually, and I was like, yeah, I mean, but I'm like, the guy is just very, very hurt. You know, I don't think, I mean, sure, it counts as persecution to some degree, but I don't think, you know, it's necessarily because you're a Christian. I just think it's because y'all had a beautiful thing, and now he lost somebody very important to him.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But anyway, I would just love to see. There's really nothing to debate. I just want to hear from their perspective what it was like.
Yep.
So if you left somebody because they got too religious, I want to hear about that. And if you got left because a person got too religious, I'd like to hear about that too. So, vinandsori@gmail.com. I just want to hear your guys' story and hear it from your guys' side, and because I think it's important to get those perspectives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
I'm Nick Cave, and we're going to play a few songs from my new record. Yeah, I hope you like them. The Bad Seeds will be playing with me, and here I am, and we're going to do that, yeah. Thanks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I touch a hair in your head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you into my arms, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. And I don't believe in the existence of angels. But looking at you, I wonder if that's true. But if I did, I would summon them together.